take the roll. Sharon Mitchell,
Present.
Carol Rodriguez,
Present.
Liz DePeru,
Here.
Mike Nickel, Wilma Schmitz,
Here.
Dan Rosenthal here. Let's see. Do we have any other commissioners in attendance?
We have one who's called in. Called in user 2.
Who is user
It's
two?
me. It's me, Heidi. I just called in. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi Heidi.
I am having
Hello.
technical difficulties.
So Heidi, you will be essentially our liaison with the Human Services and our go-to person.
Yes.
Well, welcome to your first Older Adult Commission meeting.
Well, thank you so much. And I thank you for not go ahead and calling the roll and having me not butcher everybody's name for the first time.
Well, I already did. I butchered Liz's.
How about that? No, it's always difficult.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6. We only have 6 of us. Is that still considered a quorum?
Let me double check on the current number, but it is a majority of however many people are currently appointed. So
Okay.
I don't know that number off the top of my head, but give me a second to research it here.
Well, I'm going to assume that we are. We're going to proceed.
Zach, I think it's 10.
That was my understanding as well, but I do a lot of these boards and I don't know the current number of
Sure.
members. But if it is 10, then 6 is a majority of that, and we are good to proceed.
Okay, we'll proceed. So we've taken roll call. I won't ask for approval of the meeting minutes because I don't think any of us has received the January 2nd meeting minutes. And I'll look into that.
I think Susan said that she did them, but if they got lost somewhere, I don't know the answer to that.
Now, I
And
received the, go on.
They are posted. I just pulled up the website.
Okay.
So
Usually, Susan would include them at the end of the agenda on the same attachment that she sends out prior to the meeting. And it wasn't attached this time, so I'm going to defer that until the next meeting. But just to get moving on old business, if everybody can hear me.
Okay, Dan,
Yes.
this is Wilma. We have some commissioners that have their microphones on, and
Yeah.
it's kind of distracting. So
Okay.
if
I'd ask everybody to
unless-
mute if they could. If you're not speaking, please mute. Yeah, I heard some background noise, but I don't hear it anymore, so I think it's taken care of. I'm going to find my notes for the meeting. I think I will report on the meetings that I had prior to this one. Let's see if I can find them here. So on the 13th of January, I met with the division managers, St. Louis County. I met with Amy Ellis, Greg Laposa, and Charlene Hughes. Amy's community development, Greg is workforce development, Charlene Hughes is social services. And the primary agenda item was talking about the home repair network. And I just moved. Did I lose people? Gosh. Sorry about that. You can still hear me.
Yes.
Moving my screens around.
Yeah.
And the topic was the home repair network, and the goal was to ask for participation from the county to help provide a venue for a home repair summit. And they were very amenable to that. And I asked if if these managers would like to get involved in the Home Repair Network, which is a fledgling organization in the region dealing attempting to be the clearinghouse for all things home repair in the region. Invited them to be members. They did say that they could host a summit. So in one of the St. Louis County venues, the one that seems most likely to work for us, I think there's a large space at the Northwest Crossing location. I think that's fairly easy to get to for all of us. And they have good audiovisual capability there and could accommodate a large group of people. The invitees, and then I think the older adult commission would participate. I don't know that we would be necessarily leading this summit, although we could. What I'm trying to do is convince the Home Repair Network to be the leader of the summit. And I'm on their advisory council, so I think that they will agree. The purpose of the summit would be to invite all people that touch home repairs in the region, especially in the county. And that's from a service provider perspective, a funder perspective, a not-for-profit perspective, a governmental agency perspective, as well as workforce development participants and any other organizations that touch home repair or have a stake in the success of home repair. The purpose of the summit would be an initial meeting so that everybody could introduce themselves, because what we've discovered is that many of these individuals don't talk to each other. And the ultimate goal of this clearinghouse is to help provide more efficient services so that people who are overlapping wouldn't provide redundant services or go after, spend their efforts on things that other people are already spending their efforts on. So I got a lot of support from them on that. I'm having a hard time reading my screen. Greg Laposa said he could help us with flyers. And so I'm going to pursue that with him so that he could help advertise the event if we select a specific date. And if there are any participants in our commission that would like to help me with this, please let me know. You can let me know now or offline. But he would help advertise the event. And they all understand the purpose of what home repair would accomplish from a community development perspective. There's a clear understanding that repairing homes helps sustain neighborhoods. From a workforce development perspective, Greg understands that there's a real gap in how contractors are able to service these projects, and that there are long waiting lists with a lot of not-for-profits. I know I'm repeating a lot of stuff to you, but they understand that, and Charlene understands the advantages from a human services perspective. So helping people stay in their homes longer and in their communities. And then a couple of days after that meeting, met with Dr. Page, and the agenda was larger. You all helped me set that agenda when I'd asked you prior to that meeting to tell me what your asks would be. Lisa Knoll provided the St. Louis County 2024 needs assessment in greater detail. That was by zip code. And I shared that with Dr. Page, and we honed in on the home repair items in that survey. I summarized last year's committee of the whole presentation and our report and what we had asked for then. The biggest item, one of the biggest items at the time, was getting representative for District 2, which has been a vacant commission spot for us for a long time. And he said he would help me connect with the new councilwoman from District 2, Representative Bangert, Representative Bangert and I spoke, and she asked for advice and recommendations from us on who we could, who she could recommend to county executive. And while all this was going on, we discovered that Susan Schaefer's was retiring from her position. And then we discovered that Susan Schaefer's lives in District 2. And then we discovered that Susan would love to serve as a commissioner. So I passed that information along to Councilwoman Bangert. She has since set up meetings with Susan, and Representative Bangert and I have gone back and forth, and I assured her that we highly recommend Susan for this position. I shared the information necessary to get approval. In the meantime, Susan did a lot of, was very assertive in filling out applications on her own. And so she is already way ahead of the game on that. So she is meeting with Representative Banger's office in a week or so. And then Representative Bangert is going to officially recommend to Dr. Page that this position be filled by Susan. I think that we can move this thing along pretty quickly. The other items discussed were advocating with the county prosecutor about multidisciplinary team regarding elder abuse. And Dr. Page said he would connect us with the new prosecuting attorney. And he believes that we would get support for this from the new prosecuting attorney. So I need to follow up with Dr. Page on that, because he did not give me a name yet to contact. Then we spent a great deal of time talking about the home repair, the need for home repair and the need for funding an assessment at the county level in this kind of in the same way that the city did an assessment a couple of years ago to identify the need for home repairs in the city. And I gave him a proposal from Todd Swanstrom and his people at UMSL. And it was a range, and I think the top of the range was $75,000. And Dr. Page thought that he could get support from the council for this. And he directed me to talk to Councilwoman Bangert about this, because I think it has a great impact on her district specifically. So I followed up after the meeting with Dr. Page and talked to Councilwoman Bangert specifically about home repairs, and I forwarded the proposal to her. While all of this was going on, Todd Swanstrom set up a meeting with the advocacy person for the St. Louis realtors. And this person has funds available for specific programs that they are advocating. And this person also sits on the advisory council of the Home Repair Network. And in a private meeting with this individual, we discovered that he believed he could get about $50,000 to fund this assessment, and that UMSL probably could come up with an additional $25,000 to fund it. So if we cannot get funding at the county level, or if funding appears elsewhere more quickly, we might be able to usher this along more quickly. Personally, I believe that the funding through the realtors can happen very quickly, and that this assessment could begin this spring, if that's the case. If we pursue it through the county council and the county executive, I suspect it's going to take about a year longer than that. So I'm interested in your comments if you believe otherwise, but that we now have multiple options to do that. In addition, Dr. Page said that there may be funds through the home funds, and that Greg Laposa could acquire or pursue a community development block grant to help us with this pursuit as well. then asked at Lisa Knowles' urging to help expand the NIH Washington University Grand Pad study. And Dr. Page felt that that was something that maybe WashU would be better able to fund than the county council. So he was not helpful in that area, although I did share with him that NIH was going to have their national 2026 conference in St. Louis. And I think that decision comes probably with the help of the success of the Grand Pad program and the national notoriety that it's gotten. Dr. Page said that he would suggest to local nonprofits that we need funding for regional strategic planning exercise for need and logistics regarding home repair. That might be another avenue for funding. But he thinks money is available. Again, there might be some non-governmental monies that would be easier to get. And I also discussed with Alan Bruce, who's Dr. Page's commissioner liaison, that we also are working with the Commission on Disabilities regarding the Universal Design Ordinance that's being written. Dr. Page was extremely complimentary of this commission specifically. He feels like we are really getting a lot done, and he is very impressed with our approach. He's impressed with the issues that we are pursuing, and I think we have his full support. That's this quick summary, not very quick, sorry about that. If there are any comments from anyone else before we move on to the next agenda item.
Dan, you've been working hard. Good job. That sounds like you've got a lot accomplished in the. One thing that I keep thinking is that with the Grand Pad program is that the group that should be working on that program is the medical group. I mean, the hospitals and Mercy and all of that stuff. So I'm surprised that I don't know how and the insurance people, because those are two that benefit tremendously from having that technology in the hands of those people.
So how would we pursue that?
Let me see if I can't just send a note to, I'll send a message to Sam, because he's right in that group.
Right.
So he should, so I'll see if I can't get him to give me a name, or then I'll pass that
That
on.
would be really helpful. And also it would be helpful, since you've really taken the lead and are championing the elder abuse issue.
Right.
If you could kind of prod him on the contact we should be pursuing at the prosecuting attorney's office,
Okay.
that would be really helpful.
Great. Okay.
So yeah, and I can share the liaison's contact information with everyone here. Now that we have a new person to be helping us. Next item on the agenda is master plan on aging. Since Lisa Knoll isn't on the call, and and Jamie is not on the call, I don't have any updates on that, other than we did receive a more detailed breakdown by zip codes of the survey results. And that might have been shared. If not, let me know, and I can make sure that copy is shared with everyone. Next item agenda, universal design, building consensus on an educational approach. So there has been movement. There was a meeting between the county and the Home Builders Association. A draft ordinance was shared with the Home Builders Association, and they responded with their comments. Carol and I received those comments a week or so ago. Carol and I independently made notes on what we felt was maybe a better approach than what the than what the home builders were suggesting. There were certain areas in the ordinance. The ordinance as written attempts to deal with all new construction for homes, single family and townhomes in what's the term? I keep forgetting. Unincorporated St. Louis County. And the home repair, I keep saying home repair because everything is home in my head right now. The home builders had some pushback on that, and they wanted to restrict the ordinance to only tract home developments of 10 homes or more. They wanted to exclude custom homes, individual homes, and they wanted to exclude market homes, which in my mind is really speculative development homes. And we intend to push back on that because there are very few tract home developments anymore. Most of the new construction that occurs for single family dwellings are occurring in a scattershot approach where people are buying lots within neighborhoods rather than large tracts of land. And it's a much more impactful ordinance if it affects people who are building these one-shot deal properties. The challenge is some builders are building these homes completely speculatively without having a particular customer in mind, but many of them wait to actually break ground on the property until they've identified a buyer for the lot. In fact, I think that's the more normal scenario because builders don't want to take risk when they don't need to. And so if they buy the lot, but they don't want to invest a lot of money in the lot until they have a buyer for that site. They'll have a kind of a catalog home identified for that lot, but they won't necessarily start, building until there's a homeowner associated with it. Once you have a homeowner associated with it, you can customize that design. In fact, that's pretty common. If you want to be a buyer of a new home on an empty lot, you as the buyer have all sorts of upgrade options that are usually available to you. So what we're suggesting is some of those upgrade options should be universal design related, and that it should not be excluded just because it's a custom home or it's a market home. So we'll see how that goes. There were some other pushbacks, Carol. I don't know if you recall, there's some definitional issues related to how they defined accessibility and how they defined universal design. I think we were going for the most inclusive definitions we could get for that, and that we were aiming for including strategies that would be really helpful to people in their homes. What was good about the home builders' response was they appear to have bought into this concept that there will be a brochure, and that in that brochure will be a list of upgrade options. And then similar to when you're going to find a restaurant online where it has a single dollar sign or $4 signs, depending on how costly that restaurant is, they would use the same approach along with those upgrade options. They won't identify a specific price for like lever handles or, accessible sinks or whatever, but they'll just say this is a $1 sign sort of upgrade. And if the buyer wants to proceed, then they could put a proposal together. So that's a big move in the positive direction. they're not pushing back on the educational component, and they've already, put some effort into a brochure that still needs refinement. But the other thing that they are pushing back on is what we've asked for is some recording of results so that this program could measure its success over time. And they've kind of X'd out anything that's kind of creating an administrative task that would require them to record results. And we feel that that's an extremely important component of this program. And Carol, you're welcome to chime in. But because if you can't measure it, how do you know if it's a successful program? Liz, you have your hand up.
Yeah, it just, with this home builders, the Home Builders Association, what were the things they were, I mean, what were they going to list these, and how were they going to explain how these upgrades were useful? Because sometimes.
That's a really good question, Liz, and that's another bone of contention. We had language in the original ordinance that would describe some of the value provided by implementing universal design, and they crossed all of that out. They don't want to be advocates for universal design. They just want to offer it and say it's up to you, the customer, to buy it or not buy it. And they weren't willing to think of, the value of it as something that they wanted to get behind. That's a tough one because, we see the value of it. We believe intuitively that it would help home. And there are studies around the country that would suggest that when you implement certain strategies, that it makes your home easier to resell at a higher price. But that's a controversial thing to state. And I think if the home builders state that, one risk they would be concerned about is overselling the program. If they say to somebody, oh, you could really increase your ability to sell your home, and then somebody doesn't sell their home, are there lawsuits? Is somebody going to sue? We don't know. It's a little touchy, but we haven't given up on trying to get something in there to explain why it's important. But it's tough. And people have, constitutional rights, and you can't require them to say things that they might not even believe. Yes, Wilma.
And that was what I was going to ask. Is there a champion within the home or the group that can talk their language in a situation where it's peer-to-peer? Do we know if there's anyone in the group that is, a champion or that has even built?
No one that has been a representative at any of the meetings I attended appears to be a champion. I don't know.
I think I was just going to point out, I mean, the backstory to this is the Commission on Disability has been working on this for years. And their approach was really to have an ordinance mandating a certain list of features to be in all newly built homes. And so you can only imagine the pushback, which went on for years, to this particular approach. So we were asked to be at the table by the Commission on Disabilities. And when we came to the table, we said, this has been going on a really long time. Maybe there's another alternative approach. And so we proposed what about educating consumers? Because consumers really don't know about what exactly is universal design and what are the benefits, to Liz's point, of universal design. And so they said, yeah, we can do that. We're on board with that approach. And now we're down to the nitty gritty of going back and forth of what's going to be included in the ordinance and what isn't. And they really have taken a position to restrict, as Dan was pointing out, which is just amazing because this is an educational approach. We're not saying you have to do this. All we're saying is you need to talk to the consumer about these options and let them be aware and make their own decisions. And so we're hoping that we'll be able to reach a happy ground somewhere along the way.
If people would embrace this idea, even if you don't believe that universal design is of any value at all, if you as a salesperson trying to maximize the profits of your company are able to provide upgrade options to your customer, you benefit from that as the person selling that upgrade. So I don't understand the pushback.
Dan, I worked with Mike Houlihan doing this for about 5 years. And so, and we built a home that was fully accessible and so on. And someone bought it who didn't need any of the features, but they really liked the fact that it was, easy to get in and out of and spacious. And so there are some, and there are certain features I know that, Colleen Starkloff did a program years ago in which they talked about how those kitchen faucets that are one big faucet is very easy to use now it's kind of that's what everyone has.
Exactly.
And it happens to also be very beneficial for, so maybe that's one thing we can do is try to talk about what is becoming, and Dan, I'm sure you know other things besides the faucets that are standard now. I would think that having reinforced areas in the bathroom so that later time you could add grab bars if you needed to, those kind of things.
Definitely. So most of you might recall that we participated in a workshop a year or two ago with Nancy Morrow Howell from Washington University regarding reframing aging. And the goal of that workshop was really to think about aging and ageism and what we can do to essentially mainstream the issues that benefit aging populations that also happen to benefit everybody else. When you reframe the discussion, and that's why universal design is so valuable, because universal design is that concept. It's essentially saying if you design objects, things that we manipulate on a daily basis that everybody can use, it doesn't just benefit one small segment of our population. It benefits everybody. The single lever handle at the sink, if I'm holding a baby and my hands are, occupied, or I'm even holding my iPhone with the other hand, I can use my elbow to turn on the sink. I don't have to be considered disabled to benefit from that. The same thing with lever handles on doors. If I have arthritis, it would be very challenging for me to open my hand and grasp a knob. But I can just press down on that lever handle and open the door. And again, if I'm carrying groceries, if I'm doing whatever, it makes getting in and out of spaces so much simpler. And it's not just benefiting a person in a wheelchair or a person in a walker, whatever, ability a person might or might not have. So that's what we're trying to do. And I think the Older Adult Commission really benefits when we embrace this concept globally in everything that we do, that when we are advocating an improvement to society, it's not just benefiting 18% of our population.
And Dan, kind of to reinforce that whole point, that is the norm now in Canada. Everything up there, and Justin Trudeau is going to lose his job, even though he has incorporated strong recommendations. I mean, a lot of it has to, with new construction, a lot of it has to do with making it more weather resistant to deal with the change, extreme weather changes. But part of it is also all of the kind of universal design things, so that the builders up there are very aware of it, and it started in a big way because of all the commercial locations needing to be accessible, and so that kind of drove the effort.
Yeah. Thank you. So was there anything else? So the educational approach is the one that we think will succeed. We think there's enough support on the county council to pass an ordinance like this. And because the Commission on Disabilities has embraced working with the Home Builders Association, we think that, if we can get consensus in that group, we don't see the opposition coming our way for this passing. I mean, that's the reason for the approach, is to make it a more kind of universally acceptable.
Well, and Dan, with that, with this move by the medical groups to have this hospital at home idea, that I think I sent a thing around on that.
Yes.
That will also, encourage people to consider that kind of those changes.
Right. And there has been a movement to increase home health care rather than being sent to an institution, for a long time. And there's been a push. I don't know if we're going to continue to see that push, but, it's really beneficial to people to be able to stay in their homes and to be able to utilize whatever support they're getting governmentally to stay in their homes. Sharon, Cookie, I see your hands up. You're on mute. Okay.
Yes. Hi. I was just going to ask, would it be helpful for us if we had the American disability people and even some of the people that work with disabled people in those hospitals to come on board and give us some information to these people, since we really don't have any medical involvement except for Executive Sam Page?
So is there somebody in the home healthcare industry that anyone who's familiar with that thinks would be a really good person to come talk to us?
I only know, which I already referred, and I think you guys have already spoke with her, was Mary, who works for St. Louis County and does the home health care.
We had I met with St. Andrews.
Yes.
They have really good people. Need someone from there who could.
I'm trying to think, Carol, who was on the STL Village board that was working in kind of home health industry? You remember who that?
I don't recall. I mean, I know several people who own home health agencies. There also is a state association, which may be of more value. I think it depends on what is it we want to gain from, I think there's value to that. What specifically would we like to know? I mean, the complexity of home health care, because there are agencies that cover services under Medicare, which are fairly limited. Those same agencies have to have a separate portal if they cover under Medicaid, which is limited by income, but there are several different programs you can qualify. And then, of course, there's the private sector, which is out there. And then there's hospice and palliative care. So,
And then there's the VA too.
and there's the VA. So there's a lot that's out there. I think it to a certain extent, do you want to know about governmental services, what's covered under Medicaid and Medicare, or are you more interested in just the industry as a whole? I know the industry, I mean, like so many long-term care industries, finding individuals who want to work in that industry for what they're paying in that industry can be challenging.
Yeah.
Worker shortages, it has been an issue, and it's probably more of a problem now than it has been.
Yeah.
In
it's bad. So I mean, that's
long time.
My area of design for most of my career has been housing for the aging population. So that's everywhere from independent apartments, people 55 plus, all the way to memory care, skilled nursing, assisted living, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm familiar with it from an architectural standpoint. And because all of my clients are the administrators of facilities like that, I've become familiar with a lot of the challenges, staffing challenges, financial challenges, governmental support challenges that the industry has. And then probably many of us have had elderly parents who have been through these transitions, and we've helped them through those transitions. And everybody on this call probably has some personal experiences with this. I know I do. And even though I spent most of my career designing assisted living and skilled nursing facilities, my personal goal was to keep my mom out of them as long as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people with any sort of financial means, their approach is, let's keep mom or dad at home for as long as we possibly can. And if you speak to elder care, elder law attorneys, they encourage you to spend down whatever assets you have or whatever you have to get to the point where you can stay at home for as long as you possibly can. And then when you can't anymore, you qualify for a Medicaid bed. I mean, that's unfortunately how this system is gamed, because that's the system we have. It shouldn't be this way.
It shouldn't, but it is. It is. And, for many people, they think Medicare will take care of these things. And that is a misnomer. Medicare is only medically based. So when it comes to housing, it's adaptive equipment has had some backing, but it has to be medically necessary. So that means going to a doctor and all that. So think of Medicare as being who's going to pay for it. And Medicaid is, especially Missouri Medicaid right now, is in the worst shape that I think it's ever been in. So we're looking at the federal government has had to step in and tell Medicaid to speed up. So it's, as far as education goes, and having experts or people that are in the actual field, it it's we've got folks that we can look to. I think between Carol, Mike, and I, we have over 100 years experience.
Individually.
Yes.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. So how can we be impactful, back to Carol's question, on this issue? And I see, Cookie, you have your hand up.
I was just going to say, it's been maybe 3 months now. I had a lady who came home from her rehab, and she was very excited coming. And she called, and um, she had told me how she was coming. She didn't know that I didn't live far from her, but these people came out. I guess the therapists or the people that checked the house, they didn't do this prior to her coming home. They did it after the fact. And she had got nestled all back in. And then they told her that she could not stay in her home because she was on oxygen and because she had a gas stove. She didn't have any place to go.
Cookie,
Yes, ma'am.
please. Where is this person now?
She died.
Oh, number one, unless there is a court order, a person and they have their right faculties. They cannot be forced out of their home unless they didn't pay the taxes or there's some other things. So um, that is the number one concern of a lot of people, is that they will be forced out of their home.
Yes, ma'am.
But it is not as easy as a lot of people think.
That's why I brought the subject up. And that's what I think, those kind of circumstances seem like it should have an impact on this housing situation
Oh, yeah.
for the seniors.
To your point, Cookie, I mean, there are lots of people that number one, they don't know their rights.
Correct.
Number two, they may be susceptible to, other people taking advantage of them. And then, that's really an elder abuse issue, which we're trying to deal with. Personally, I think the way we are most impactful is to pursue the things that we're already doing,
Yes.
which is to try to help people stay in their homes longer, to
Yes.
help modify their homes so that they can stay there longer. And the piece that we're not addressing is really this home healthcare component, which is, so much of it is economic. I don't know how much impact we can have on that one. I mean, unless somebody has an idea about where we could, we're more successful when we focus on a specific topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that would be on the home healthcare front. I mean, we're wherever we say is falling on deaf ears when it comes to increasing funding for just about anything.
Dan, this is where we're, in the past, this is getting help from like StarCloth. Paraquat is less easy to work with, but the StarCloth group is because they're all about making sure that people with disabilities are hired and working in the workforce, and how easy it is to technically adapt to having them working.
Well, both Paraquat and Starclough have been participating in the home repair network. But I don't know what they're doing, as you say, dealing with the helping staff or if we don't have anything else to add on that one, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is St. Louis Elder Financial Protection Coalition and Broadband Initiative. Are there any updates, any meetings that anyone attended or any new information? Okay. If not, we're going to move on to the property tax relief for older adults and circuit breaker legislation. I think Carol has participated in many of those meetings.
Yeah.
And Carol had me working on it too.
Oh, excellent,
Yes.
Cookie.
Yeah, Cookie was great last year, and unfortunately it didn't pass last year. So you come back to the legislative session and you start over just like you never worked on it before. So there are basically two bills that have been filed. One is Senate Bill 64. That's by Tracy McCreary. I think many of us know Senator McCreary represents kind of District 2, and it represents a lot of central, kind of the central corridor. And she filed a bill last year. This is the exact same bill. She just refiled it. And it has been assigned to Economic and Workforce Development, which I thought was an interesting committee for this particular piece of legislation. And to back up a little bit, this is the bill that would increase the guidelines under the circuit breaker program. So individuals with higher income, both individuals and couples, that income level would be higher. And then the benefit would also be increased under her legislation. It's been assigned to a committee. I just checked this morning. It is not scheduled for a committee hearing. The fiscal note is $72 million. So I think there'll be some pushback. Last year the state was in a much better financial situation to look at bills that had high fiscal notes. This year it's a little bit different. So we'll be monitoring that and seeing how it goes forward. There's another bill that's been filed in the House by McGurl, and it has not been assigned to a committee yet. It has a much lower fiscal note because it has far less benefits, but potentially compromised bill language. So I'll keep you informed. There was a desire to see this move really quickly, but I think because of financial concerns, it doesn't have the momentum that people had hoped for. So we'll keep you apprised as we go forward.
Thank you. Next agenda item, senior tax levy updates. I'm on the steering committee for the senior tax levy ballot initiative, and we had a meeting last week. We're getting great participation from the big players in St. Louis County that would be impacted in a beneficial way. And they are Lutheran Senior Services, St. Andrews, Cardinal Ritter, Town Center, you name it, any organization that is providing senior services as a kind of a desire to see a tax levy pass. The fiscal sponsor is Lutheran Senior Services, so they've been writing the big checks to help support this effort, which is just really getting started. The goal is to have a ballot initiative in April of 2026. We're in the educational phase right now. As you recall, last year we had a presentation from Marillac Mission Fund representatives who are really spearheading this effort. Jamie Opsel, since her retirement, has joined the executive committee for this effort. They interviewed and hired a PR firm to help support the effort. That's the Kelly Group, or whatever they're called these days. I can't remember what they're called these days, but that they happened to be involved in 2016. So there's some institutional knowledge about what worked and what didn't work. And what worked was that it passed in the city. What didn't work is it didn't pass in the county or in St. Charles. And the effort has been kind of reevaluated, and the focus is really on just St. Louis County. The belief is that the attempt was too far reaching in 2016, and that there are limited funds to support and kind of an education and advertising campaign for something like this. Advertising is extremely expensive. That if you focus it, you have a better chance of success. As you might recall, there was a survey done locally in the county, and the initial results were very promising for support throughout St. Louis County, not just one specific district, but throughout. And the reason for that is the increasing population of people over 65 throughout the county. And the representatives of those districts know that, and know that their constituents of that demographic vote. And so there appears to be a better chance of passage, but it's still an uphill battle. After the education effort, our commissioners are going to be asked to contact people that they advise and advocate to, which would be the county council and the county executive. And we have not been asked to do that yet. I think they're really trying to still strategize and map out the approach, but getting closer to that April date, 2026, actually before that date, it might be worthwhile for us to invite people from the Marillac Mission Fund and probably Jamie back to give us an update on it. There have been discussions that the board that the city has that administers the funds for the city's senior fund looks a lot like our commission in terms of who's represented on it, where our expertise areas are, the fact that we represent all of the districts throughout the county. So if at a minimum, I think our commission ends up being the model for the organization of a board. And I think that the Marillac Mission Fund in particular sees a lot of value in what we're doing and would love to see us as engaged as possible in this effort if we support it. That's all I have on that one. Any updates on Aging Ahead or Corp? I don't know if Heidi has anything from a governmental perspective in terms of any updates on programs.
Dan?
Yes.
Christine from Aging Ahead is on with us as a attendee. So you may want to, Christine, can you unmute? And oh, she's not able to
Genetic
unmute.
hosts, would you be able to upgrade Christine, who's currently an attendee, to a participant? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Sorry, what did you need an update on?
Is there any effort that you think that would be helpful for our commission to know about that Aging Ahead is pursuing?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're aware of some of the funding considerations, but I did want to share an update on that. So it's a couple of different issues. At the state level, the funding issue is really a lack of spending authority. Governor Kehoe did announce last week that he's supporting a supplemental request. We actually, the next step that we're working on is to make it an early supplemental to be passed by legislature and signed by the governor. Essentially what happened is when the state requested funding for all 10 of the Missouri AAAs, because there was some ARPA funds still mingled in, they didn't request the correct amount from the Older Americans Act for appropriation. So the money's there, they just don't have the spending authority. So that's sort of one thing that we're working on. And then of course at the federal level, we've been told by US Aging, who's watching this closely, that the Older Americans Act funding streams are on the OMB list to be reviewed. Many, as you're aware, many human service funding streams are on that list. So at this point, we're urging our representatives and senators to continue to support Older American Act funding, recognizing that we support a very vulnerable population. So just waiting for kind of some progress or movement on that. So those are two big issues that we're kind of advocating for right now.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That concerning report.
Yeah. They both kind of hit at the same time. We learned about the state issue right before the federal issue. So
Well,
a lot of advocating happening. So we do have some talking points if you're interested. I'd be happy to share those.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that the day that it was announced that all federal, funding was basically shut off was the day we were meeting with the senior tax levy people, and everybody in that room was up in arms. Well, it's good that maybe things are heading to be back on track too slowly. We don't have any new business.
Well, Dan,
Yes.
excuse me. I forward to all the commissioners in case you're not receiving the Missouri Coalition on Aging advocacy alert. And it's dated, there is a very long email. And I would hope everybody would look at that very closely. It is talking about the Office of Management and Budget and the memo that was circulated. So it's something that we need to be aware of. So check your inboxes. I forward what I've received to everybody. So there you go.
Well, so many things are happening on the federal level that are so concerning and impactful on us, not in a positive way. I reflect back on I think it was the 2014 report by the World Health Organization on healthy aging. And that report was instrumental, I think, in kind of creating the foundation for what this commission does. The fact that AARP was pursuing age-friendly communities. I mean, that's right out of the toolbox of the World Health Organization's studies. And as you all know, I don't think we're even participating in the World Health Organization as a country right now. So there's a vast amount of resources that we're missing out on in terms of just growing our understanding of issues that impact the commission and impact older adults. Nobody to jump in and say, no, Dan, you got it all wrong. So it's all good.
No, Dan, but I think this is one of the things that is none of us know what's going to happen. Certainly across the board.
Yeah, I think the only thing we can do is work locally on the same issues we've been pursuing. But are there any reports on the Commission on Disabilities? I don't know if Sue Orton is on the call. I don't see her. I think we already shared what we've been doing with them, and then there's going to be a virtual conversation over the weekend to come to a consensus on our response to the Home Builders Association. That's happening sometime before kickoff on Sunday. Are there any commissioner member share outs? Has anybody participated in anything that they'll like share or?
Dan, I just wanted to say, Wayne did try and get on and I forwarded him the log on information, but I noticed he didn't log on. So I just wanted to
Thank you.
make people aware that he did make an effort.
Cookie.
I followed through on first where you asked me to go represent out there at the Clark Library. They canceled that due to the weather.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Then we had the 4th District, Sam Page. We were all at the Redmond Recreation, which really it went pretty good. It was good information out there. They had a lot of county people
Excellent.
to tell people. And then you asked me to follow up on the stickers for the disability.
Yes. Yes.
I did find those. I have one of each. We can obtain them from now, as I know of, Captain Morgan at the North County Precinct.
That's a
And
fire department.
I have the codes for them. I will send them to all of us, I guess, or I send them to you and Carol, and you distribute them out and see what they work.
Is this something that the county could distribute? I mean, Heidi's are, these are stickers that you place on your car to identify you
In your
as
home.
and your home that you have or multiple disabilities. Is this something that could be distributed at the county level?
Well, we're out here in Spanish Lake. I got a few, and I had Julie Griffin, who's the president of the Spanish Lake Association. She picked them up, and we're doing Vita taxes now, and we're going to try to give them to the people that we kind of see if they need them.
That is excellent. Thank you.
I think that they could probably be distributed when CORE signs up new customers. We used to have a little file of life thing that was similar to that. That's, of course, sort of limited to just people that are signing up to be our new customers. But that would definitely be one place, and tax appointments, as Cookie said.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing. Councilwoman Webb is at the 4th District. She's going to have a town hall tonight, and I'm going to try to run it by her, and maybe she can mention it.
Thank you.
However, and you also, the paperwork you were talking about advocating, I hope you give it to me so I can get it out here in the county.
which paperwork, the
You said you needed help in
home repair?
advertising. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think I forwarded that, but I can send you another copy, but yeah, because what we would love to keep pursuing county council support for this, assessment, housing assessment. But I think, we definitely want to have that in our back pocket, but I suspect that we're going to have more success in the private sector on that one. With your, I think, Cookie, the fact that you have, opportunities with Councilwoman Webb to just advocate for the things that we're advocating for as much as possible, because her vote matters.
Dan,
Well, I took some notes
Yes.
as we were speaking. If you or Carol or Wilma or anyone just kind of give me a list to kind of go over, I will. I
Okay.
promise.
I think the asks that I would recommend are, do you have a copy of the Committee of the Whole report that we did last year, Cookie? Because there's a page, I think, that says, these are the things that we're asking for. And the
You
big ones are really, I think, trying to get the prosecuting attorney's office involved in the elder abuse issues would be a really big one.
and I'm supposed to meet she will have the new prosecuting attorney with her at the
Oh,
meeting
wonderful.
tonight.
Well, then you're probably going to meet this person before we do.
And that's why I say, if you could give me a little list, maybe I can
Yes.
kind of mention these things. They may get into the subject that she's going to discuss, but afterwards they also can get into the subject because I'll talk to them about it.
So Liz, do you have like a one sheet blurb on this multidisciplinary team approach?
you know what? Let me look in my notes and I will find one. And Cookie, I will send that to you on the elder abuse, because it's also, Carol, do you remember the name of the person? It was a woman, I think it was Lisa, who was in the prosecuting attorney's office that we kind of talked to. I'll have to look. Let me double check, because there is somebody who we were dealing with, who was terrific. And I think she's still in that office.
Do not recall her name, but yes, I would be surprised if she was not there, because she had been there for quite some time.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. So Cookie, let me get her name, because she's been really helpful, and I'll just go through my contact list and get that to you.
Thank you, Liz. And her Councilwoman Webb's meeting starts at 6, but I interact with her from time to time on different things, so I still can bring it, to her attention.
Well, Cookie, I think the other thing that I don't think we've brought up enough is making sure that older adults are part of the 2050 plan, because that seemed to be a pretty, active group.
It is. And I think, that the big opportunities were at the listening sessions. And I don't know if there are more planned, but that was a great opportunity to give the county planning commission input on older adult issues. I tried to do as much of that as I could when I was there. And if you have any specific items that you think are kind of long-term comprehensive plan related issues that you haven't spoken to anybody about, bring it to me. I sit on that steering committee. So any 2050 comprehensive plan is a huge effort. The goal is to really plan for the next 20 or so years, 20, 30 years. Actually, it's
Oh,
supposed
well,
to
I
be
hear
40
that
years.
they come in, Dan, and they say, well, in 2050, I'm not going to be here. We have a lot of feedback from that.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it's but hopefully these people will be here within the next 5 to 10 years, and things are set in motion now.
And I told them even the people who are telling us the information may not be here in 2050 either. We just have to do what we can and start doing it. That's the part. We got to start doing it.
Yeah.
I did that turkey for the seniors out here just before Thanksgiving, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And it was a lot of feedback with that. One of the ladies said that I had sent her so many places that people could get turkeys and different things through November. She wondered how we can do that all year for the seniors. The fire department, Spanish Lake Fire Department, said that I gave them an idea, and we're supposed to discuss it, where they're going to make space. They do a pancake breakfast, but they're going to do a senior, well, we're going to try to do a senior gathering during the holiday where the seniors who could come. And we're also going to, the way I understood it is those that cannot get out, maybe we can deliver them something for the holiday, for the meals. But the point I'm making is this lady from Palatine called me and wanted me to group up with her. She wants to know if maybe North County, so to speak, there are places that we can rotate around every month and get the community together with people and do a meal for once a month in different places. Like I heard you mention St. Andrews. That was one of the names that came up when we were discussing it.
Excellent. Cookie, thank you for what you do. So much. You do so much.
Thank you.
Any other commission member share outs? And any agenda items that you think we didn't touch on at this meeting that you think we need to touch on at our next meeting, which I believe is March the 6th?
So Dan, not an agenda item, but I wanted to let you guys know my last day with the county is going to be February 21st. I'm going to the private sector, but I wanted to thank you all for everything that you guys have done. You're exceptionally hardworking, so keep up the good work. I know it's difficult at the best of times, but particularly now. I don't know who the next legal representative will be, but I will communicate with Heidi and she will be sure to update you guys. But I wanted to let you know. But it's been an honor working with you guys the last 2.5 years. So thank you for everything you do for the county.
Thank you so much for keeping us in line. we would drift off the tracks without you.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, well, if there are no other comments, I'm going to open it up to any comments. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, well, we will see you on March the 6th.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Dan.
much.
Thanks,
everyone.
Dan.
Thank you.
Sorry I jumped in late, but good to see you guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Right.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
Bye.